recording, and I will briefly introduce you, Jon and Birgit. I think most of the people know you. And Birgit is also a leader of a Center of Excellence in Education here at IDI. And Jon is a professor in information system, and they have this, I think they burn for this sustainability and green IT. They are passionate about this, and we have been working with Jon, trying to set up activities at the intersection between software and sustainability. And I'm personally looking forward to hear more about GoForIT. And yes, thank you for being here, and the word is yours. If people have questions, we are not many people, so you can just unmute yourself and take the hand up, or if you write in the chat, I will try to facilitate as much as I can. So please, Jon and Birgit, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And this is as an initiative is called GoForIT, which involve a number of organizations. This picture here is from last week, where we had made the plans for what we were going to do next year. In this, I'm going to tell a bit about this. So GoForIT is a Norwegian initiative focusing on how to build knowledge and competence on sustainability among IT professionals. And several organizations see this as necessary and want to both have continued education of their current employees in this area, and also that we include this in the traditional university curriculum in some way. This is very much in parallel with what we are doing internally at NTNU with fremtidens teknologistudier, etc. We started in the spring of 2020, really, right before the lockdown, although there was a panel at NICT in 2019, which Birgit organized with people from University of Agder, Beauvais, and also ICT Norway has been very active in having this established. And then it has grown since this, and we had the kind of official kickoff in April, but also several other digital events, 2020, 2021, last at Arendalsuka, where we had our rector representing us. And as you see under here, there's a lot of organizations involved already, a lot of universities, and also companies, but also say ICT Norway, which are very active in making this happen. So the activities is now structured in different work groups. Obviously, very relevant here is the educational and courses work, which Birgit will say a bit about. I'll also say a bit about how can we involve sustainability aspects in the university curricula in particular. Simon Sommerfeld, which many might know, he was behind this Lær Kidsa coding, among other things. In Beauvais, he's taking the lead on a toolbox for practice. So, practical tools to use in requirements engineering, if you want to take into account sustainability issues, have sustainability requirements, things like that, techniques for sustainable business canvas, etc. We have a research network starting up, which I'm very much involved in. We have a conference next year, etc. So there's a lot of activities that are now being kicked off. Birgit will say a bit about the courses afterwards. And we relate to, in a way, to the traditional dimensions of sustainability, environmental, social, economic. but inspired by really the people was behind something called Karlskrona Manifesto 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Also include aspects on the individual basis, so having IT systems that support our individual development, if you like, and do not suppress it, and technical issues, because obviously we are creating technical artifacts, and if they're just sitting there, they will degrade. And that's not very sustainable. So inspired by what has been done internationally there, we are very much looking upon the IT systems according to these different dimensions, but both on the immediate effects of the IT system, so how much energy will it be using, how does it affect social systems, how does it affect the individual, the enabling effects, which I guess most think about when you talk about sustainability in IT. So, okay, how can we create sustainable businesses, for instance, or sustainable processes in society? And then you have the structural effects, the more long-term effects, when everyone is using, say, one platform for certain things. So everyone is using Facebook to reach all the people, and then that becomes a dominant platform, how that influences well, actually society, but also the environmental, technical, economic, and the individual over time. Another important thing when you talk about sustainability in general, not only in IT, is what we call sustainability competencies. So Birgit, could you say a few words on this?
Yes. When we want a candidate from our type of education to be able to go out there and help solve sustainability problems, one thing is the disciplinary knowledge which is needed. An IT person needs knowledge on how to do the typical IT task on the technical side. But there are also these more generic, what you can recognize as soft skills or transferable skills that are really necessary to be able to work on sustainability challenges. And this has to do with being able to relate to a high level of complexity. This is nothing new in the IT business. We know about wicked problems and complex systems, but it's really necessary to be able to work with sustainability challenges because they are often very complex. So competence in looking into the future sounds doesn't sound realistic, but anticipating and being oriented towards different future scenarios. That's an important competence. Normative competence, knowing about norms and rules, thinking strategy, being able to collaborate. We know from experience that gaining experience from working in teams is really essential in IT education. So we are already there in the sense, but it's really important to work with sustainability challenges, and that includes working with people from other disciplines. So cross-disciplinary work, critical thinking, and also self-awareness. You need skills that are interpersonal, and you need some intrapersonal skills as well. You need to know how you relate to different types of situations and challenges. So these are competencies in this picture that aren't particular to IT or computer science, software engineering as fields. It goes for everyone who we educate to work with sustainability challenges. And that could be education as in a bachelor or master. It could also be further training in work life and what's the word for IT-utdanning?
continued education.
Continued education, yeah. So if you switch slide, then
No, continue.
So this is a picture that I stole from the first report of Fremtidens teknologistudier, looking into future technology studies at NTNU, but with relevance to anyone else in technical higher education. You will recognize the T as a there is this concept of a T-shaped competency profile, which you probably know includes the stem of the discipline knowledge and then this horizontal part, which basically includes all the things we just talked about, the transferable skills, ability and will to engage in lifelong learning is included here. And sustainability has been included explicitly. This first report from Fremtidens teknologistudier, this project looking into how we want to develop our technical studies in the years to come, it has a particular focus on sustainability. So that's maybe why you see it in this diagram. So there is a knowledge, at least I think in our system and in all educational systems in Norway, that these are the things we need to help our students learn, and it certainly goes for the field of information technology and computer science as well.
Okay, I'll take it from there. Because there's obviously a number of ways of including sustainability aspects in the IT education, and a number of these things we already do. I mean, on the transferable skills part, at least, in different kind of courses. So it's not everything from scratch, but on the other hand, there are things that can be done on these different levels, I think, of effects. When you look upon immediate effects, one way is to introduce sustainability concern in traditional courses, often linked to the use of specialized techniques on example cases. So we have one paper we wrote presented last year. It was basically a course Birgit worked on, doing things with the case, not really changing the techniques being used, but including specific persona, specific scenarios in the case they worked on in an HCI course. Similar kind of things can be done in software engineering courses on requirements engineering. I've not been working on this yet, but we'll be doing that, I think. Birgit Pensenstadler, for instance, in Chalmers has been working a lot according to this and how to do this. We can look on specific things based on interest, I guess, in the end, because there's a lot of different things. We also have, as I say, so-called sustainable business canvas rather than traditional business canvas, also taking into account sustainability aspects and not only business aspects in business modeling in the enterprise architecture course that we have. So bringing in these new techniques, but in existing courses, so just minor extensions. When it comes to catering for enabling effects, this will often be based on cases with sustainability goals in themselves. So for instance, in project courses. So one thing we are doing in GoForIT is to have try to have structured approach for recruiting cases from partners and partly turning them, some of them at least, into teaching cases for reuse. We haven't started on this yet, but obviously there's a lot of work in connection to that. Myself, I'll be doing an expert in teams this spring on use of AI and big data for sustainable development. There, in addition to cases, I'm recruiting, you might say, data sets from these organizations. And we've done this before, and there's also other kind of expert in teams on this, I guess, responsible AI and welfare. Is that your old course, so, Letizia, or is it a new one?
It's Sophia.
Okay.
My Arvtager, what is called.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
When it comes to structural effects, here, particularly this, what we talked about, sustainability competences, the transferable skills kind of thing is very important, which you can try to have in typical project courses like CoPro. We have also something that is called minors that we will try to look at. So there's also in this Fremtidsteknologistudie program where they're setting up a minor in sustainability on sustainable development. And this is typically 3 existing courses and then what I call a signature course, an extra project course, giving a package of extra course. So, for instance, in the Bachelor in Informatics, they have a lot of opening for electives, but not really good packages for. So it seems that they're basically electing courses in random and do not get this additional. So they're opening for this in certain studies. And then I'll say on all levels, one might have kind of specialization courses. This is one I have myself have run for some years. IT for Sustainable Development, and that's this for those that are not at NTNU. These are small modules in the 9th semester of an integrated master. So before they do their master thesis, so it's more kind of a seminar course, which has changed curricula from year to year. And then obviously it's work on integrating in the study program learning outcomes also to see that obviously a single course will not cover all these aspects, but how the full master or bachelor can cover the different aspects in a good way. So if you can say a bit on what the study area plan?
Yeah, I can do that. You might have noticed that the examples that John gave here were mainly from the NTNU context, and of course other partners in GoForIT also have course offerings. So, but I think this overview that you just saw, which linked types of courses to this idea of immediate and enabling and structural effects of IT, is an interesting way of seeing it. So that's we need to approach this in different ways. And one thing that we will do is to perform a mapping of existing courses that in IT or related study programs that cover sustainability. So we use a couple of teaching assistants in our center and supervise them. So they're currently doing a kind of survey of existing sustainability courses in our field. So we'll see what they find. It could be a challenge to put the boundary somewhere. Is any project course that helps our students become good at teamwork, is that a sustainability course? Probably not, but it's not so easy maybe to define what's inside and what's outside. But there is a study going on there. John mentioned cases. It was one of the big topics in this seminar in GoForIT last week. Everybody agrees that good cases are really essential. So the IT businesses that participate in this want to contribute. The educational partners want to have these cases. Everybody knows that the students love them. It's kind of and cases can be used in many ways, from small examples shown as part of teaching to really full-fledged open problems that students use in for instance, a team project. And I know many of you know a lot about student projects and the potential to learn from them. Then also a big topic was how to get a manageable and useful pool of guest lecturers that can be used. For instance, if in my course I want somebody to talk about a certain topic, I can look it up and see if there is some offering from one of the partners from, say, a consultancy company, and then I can use it. The interesting thing is that there was a wish for lectures the other way around. So, for instance, the person from Microsoft mentioned a kind of lunch meeting they have, I guess much the same as we're in now, with presentations where they wanted academia to come in and present related to interesting topics. Could be software engineering connected to sustainability, for instance. As an example here. So good cases and a nice pool of guest lectures are actually two things that GoForIT will really work on. And John didn't mention it, but I think it's worth saying that one of the things about GoForIT is that we have this ground rule of non-competition within GoForIT. So there are different universities involved. There are different consultancy companies that definitely compete in other contexts, but there are common concerns like a need to know about competencies for different roles in IT, a need for good guest lectures. It's not a problem if we and, say, University and Agder use the same guest lecturer. It's actually a good use of resources. So keeping this without or deliberately keeping competition out of it is one important thing about this network. Thank you.
Yes, and I think just to leave some time for questions, then I'll end there for the moment, and then we can bring in other things too, other activities that is planned on other areas, research or other. But I would like to, if there's some comments or questions.
While people warms up, I can ask a question or a comment. Do you focus on any specific UN goal or all the 17 goals?
We don't really focus on any specific. I mean, typically, if you go in if you want to have some enabling effect on something, there will be a limited number of goals in that specific case. But per se, it's not that we only look on health or gender or education, or if that's so. At least for the moment, I guess we can see if we get up the kind of cases that we get up, if that is the interest is in for something specific, but for the moment we do not focus on specific goals. No.
Thank you. Doug, sorry, Birgit.
Yeah, I just add one sentence there that among the partners here, it's very clear that there is a need to define what we mean by sustainability, and some perceive these 17 goals as a bit hard to make concrete. It becomes rather general and wide. There is the European Green Deal with a more limited set of goals that are more operationalized operationalized, which might be more useful. But I guess it boils down to defining properly what we're talking about when we talk about sustainability. Otherwise, it becomes too vague. Thank you.
Thank you, Birgit. Dag.
Yeah, I actually have exactly the same question as you're discussing now, because when it's so vague as those 17 goals, yeah, what does it boil down to? I mean, teamwork. Of course, good teamwork can be used for everything. But is there anything? I mean, would teaching teamwork be any different, whether it's called sustainability for sustainability purposes or not? That's hard to see. So, green IT, that's one. That will be a part, a division. Health, you have health informatics. Yeah, I just wonder how it's hard to see the relationship between anything and this and a very vague definition of sustainability. So I also feel the need for being a bit more concrete. Yeah, as the slides showing.
Yes. So I mean, I'm not so focused on the 17 SDGs really. I must say, but rather, I mean, you have areas already which work on this. So you say green IT, so that's typically the immediate effects. Okay. And then you can make very concrete things, say on the environmental side, especially like on carbon footprint, etc., or research usage. So, and this you can take in every kind of course. So you can include, say, in an AI course where you discuss green or machine learning, green AI versus red AI, in the sense that okay, how much resources do you actually use to train the system? You can have in programming actually, where you have certain languages that are much less energy efficient than others. So on some sub areas, if you like, there's quite a lot of concrete things which are very useful, and we can find as very useful. The problem if you have all areas, it's as you say, it kind of covers everything and nothing. So we will highlight, I think, specific things, and I'm very much concerned on this inner actually and the long-term structural. And then obviously the enabling effects on all this will be very different in the different domains. And then there might be a lot of things that come up in health, but as you say, you have health informatics already. So what's new there? So I think we should try to steer that a bit, but it's a challenge also now. We have got a lot of partners very quickly, which all and we need to work within the network to kind of get this more concrete, what we are at least focusing on. IT for green on the other would typically be on the enabling effects. I mean, so how you use IT for improving the business processes, providing a kind of supporting circular economy, typically, which then could be obviously in a lot of different areas. But I think we should we need to kind of single out some core areas, and then and not saying that everything else is not interesting, but just to be able to provide something that are useful. Yeah.
Birgit, you have a hand.
Yeah. In terms of focusing, I think again from the educational perspective, there are kind of three main groups of things. It's the knowledge of knowledge, skills, competence in your discipline that makes you able to perform well as a software engineer and help solve problems. And then it's the having some idea about what we mean about sustainability, the basic vocabulary, what is this? I think that's also a type of knowledge, and then it's the transferable skills that were mentioned. And I really agree that when it comes to transferable skills, I think maybe that's not where the main focus should be. I think an important thing is that within education in our field, we should appreciate and utilize and build on things that we are already good at and which are really relevant, which makes it sensible to count in a way the good work already done with project-based learning, teamwork, that type of thing. But getting sustainability into education, it has to be done more specifically, more explicitly, and I think a key connection point here is simply the learning objectives described on a study program level and on a course level, which is where we in practice have to include these aspects and look at, say, a study program as a totality. Do we, throughout these years, cover the necessary things: discipline knowledge, sustainability knowledge, transferable skills?
Yes, Birgit, Jon, this is very, very interesting. You know, I have not understood myself how to deal with sustainability and software engineering together. Otherwise, we would have get our SFF if we had understood it very well. But I think this is very inspiring, and I'm looking forward to follow your work you are doing in GoForIT. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just a last line is that we are setting also up a researcher network, recruiting from partners and also from potential new members. Hope to get the University of Oslo on board, for instance. Partly sharing knowledge on this, but also supporting getting together in consortia applying for research funding. So I guess we'll have a first workshop in October when they have presented the next next goal. Yeah,
I just put in that thank you very much for this work. It's very important because we are all discussing this at the University of Oslo. I mean, all disciplines should now have some focus on sustainability, but what does it mean? There is now a question of whether mathematics should be excluded, because mathematics is mathematics. It's hard to tell whether it's a green or health mathematics. I mean, it's so basic. But that question also relates to IT. I mean, you said we can look at the energy used in programming, but and we have applications, of course, of IT into that could support or support enabling technologies, but we definitely need to discuss what it means in our discipline. So thanks a lot for taking this initiative.
So thank you, and bye-bye, and hope to see you all in our next seminar. Geir, do you want to say anything?
No, just to repeat what you just said, keep an eye on the webinars coming up. You'll find them on smidig.org, the program.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.